Um, Again, I'm unrehearsed today and unscripted. Um, just going to talk about flat Earth evidence. Uh, People are frustrated because I can show you as much evidence as I want, and it'll all be laid right out nice and neat for you, and you'll look over here and you won't acknowledge it, but I'll do it again anyways. So water's always level, right off the get-go, always. It doesn't bend at 8 inches per mile squared, never. That's why we use water to level things, like when we build buildings, parking lots, anything like that, train tracks, we use levels, water levels. The world is 70% water. It is not bending at 8 inches per mile squared, or everything we built that would be over a mile would be 4 inches at a level at the base. So by the time you got to the top of a skyscraper, she'd be the Leaning Tower of Pisa, all right. She'd fall right over. Right? But you guys are just frustrating. Anyway, so that alone. And then if you're a Christian, obviously the Bible says it over and over. The earth's unmovable, it's flat, and it's got a foundation, and it's the sun moves, and the stars are put in the firmament. There isn't big outer space out there, all this. No. We're in a snow globe sitting on God's coffee table. The snow globe is Earth. That's it. There's no outer shell of other lands. There's none of that shit. There's the ice wall of Antarctica that circles the Earth where we're not allowed to go. And that's the highest continental shelf in the whole world. And so it holds the edge of the water. And then there's the snow globe going over top of us that's called the firmament. And all those lights that are the stars are set into that firmament. That's why they look like water reflecting through, or light reflecting through water. If you look up what the stars actually look like, film, you can look it up. It doesn't look like what you think it looks like. Same as the planets. They don't look anything like what you think it look like. Not even close. Anyway, so those, you can just go look. I use these $20 binoculars in the summertime, and I was looking at Mars because it gets really close to Earth in a certain month or whatever it was, and you could clearly see it wasn't a planet. It was a light with sharp edges all the way around and brighter lights on all the corners, and then it had intersecting lines going through it, and everywhere the lines intersected, there was another brighter light on the inside. Looked like a really bright spotlight. Didn't look like a planet, what you guys think. And again, that's just stuff you can go out and test. And then you say shit like, oh, Earth, ships disappear when they get too far away or whatever. I can do that on your kitchen table. Right? All you got to do is put something on the far end of the table and then bring your eye down to exactly level with the table. You won't see the bottom of that thing over there. You can do it with your hand. You can see your baby finger, and then as you bring it up to level, you start to see less and less of your baby finger. That's just the way your eyes work, and that's the way you work. That has nothing to do with curvature, because that ship disappears, you grab a binocular, it comes right back. You put a weather balloon up with a camera on it, we go to 120,000 feet all the time. There's tons of pictures of it, and this one is really Like, you'd have to be stupid to believe once you see this, you'd have to be stupid to believe the heliocentric model, because it it's physically impossible. Because they're up on 120,000 feet, everything is flat as far as you can see. Horizon comes right up to eye level. And, and then you'll see the hot spot of the sun, and you'll see tons of land all the way around it. And you'll see the sun itself, and then you'll see a bunch of space up here above the sun, all in one picture frame at 120,000 feet. You realize that you're level with the sun at that point? You have to be. In order to be seeing above the sun, below the sun, past the sun, right? You'd have to be looking, if it was 93 million miles away, you're seeing the hot spot in the center of the picture. So there you're looking at 93 million miles, plus the whole circumference of the sun, which is another million miles or whatever the hell they say. And then you got this much space above it. So you're looking at like 150,000 miles or some stupid thing. 180,000 miles that you got to be looking at in that picture. And then you'd have to be looking at the same amount of Earth past the sun in order to be seeing that much space. You got to be seeing relatively the same amount of ground. Right? It's right there in front of you. You just got to open up your eyes and look at it. It's undeniable. Right? You're listening to this scientist because he's saying, oh, millions of years, blah, blah, blah. That's another fucking thing. Do you think time is magic? Honestly? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Time is not magic. If I told you that you can go kiss a frog and it's going to turn into a prince, you'd be like, nah, fuck, you're crazy. That'll never happen. I'm not going to go kissing frogs. But if I said, if you kiss that frog and then wait 1,000,000 years, it's going to turn into a prince, you'd be like, oh yeah, well, that makes sense. For sure. Especially if it gets killed and squished, and then it'll make a soup, and that soup will bring out a new life form. What the you should have had a fucking V8 for sure. You need it. Your brain's broken. But it's not your fault. You were attacked when you were a child. Brainwashed. Right through your whole life. Everything that you're shown and seen and is all that lie. Every TV show, The Big Bang Theory, all of those TV shows, all have reference to it. Star Trek, Star Wars, Futurama, all of it. The list goes on and on and on and on. You're bombarded with that lie. Your entire life, right from the time you're a little baby. So, obviously, it's hard to break. Even seeing it, knowing it, it took years to break the brainwashing, totally. And I'll still say the globe once in a while. Because it's in my vocabulary, right? So, it isn't your fault. And I'm sorry that I get so frustrated with you. But open your eyes. It's becoming your fault. If you're watching this video and you're not going out and testing things for yourself. So now the map. The Flat Earth map has been, there's thousands of the same map from all cultures of the world throughout all of history. And they all look the same. So, right up until the globe. The globe changed. It's the only one that's different. And it's the only one that doesn't make any sense. Right? When you're flying international flights on the globe, we're going like this. Grab some gas and fly down across the planet on big diagonals, zigzags and shit. But if you map those out on a flat Earth, it's like that. When you look at Pearl Harbor in Japan on the flat Earth, they're only this far away on the world map. They're not the whole Pacific Ocean apart. They didn't have to fly all the way around the world. No, that fucking Pearl Harbor's right off their coast. They just flew down there and bombed it. That's how they could do it so quickly and effectively. They wouldn't have been able to fly all the way across the Pacific Ocean and bomb the U.S. without the U.S. fucking seeing them and defending themselves or shooting them down or something. And like I said, the international flights are all over the fucking place, and then you'll look at like where they've had to do emergency stops and stuff like that on these certain flights, and it's like, on the globe, you should have been nowhere near Alaska or whatever. But when you plot that out on the flat Earth map, it's like, oh, okay, you were making this straight line, which is the quickest line between 2 points. As the crow flies, they say. So, that was the one that really clenched my brain. When I started seeing all that, and I thought, they're not wasting that much gas and fuel going in zigzags all over the earth. These companies that are all about their bottom line and stuff, and all about making the CEOs super rich in the airlines and stuff. There's no way they're doing that. They're making straight paths. Then I looked up, took a while in Google to find, and I doubt you'd even find it now because it's been 6 years since I found it there. Anyways, you find the map they used in the World War II strategy on the game, and the real map that they used was the Flat Earth map. The UN logo, it's Flat Earth map. You see it all over the place. They show it to you all the time. You just don't realize what it is. So then we've got like monuments, pyramids, things like this that are in line with the stars. And they've been in line with the stars since forever. It's never deviated. There's holes in certain rocks that the stars will line up with it and shoot the light through the little hole or the sun or whatever every fucking day or whatever, or every year when the star goes by, it'll line up. There's all kinds of little things like that. And in order to navigate back in the day, that's what they used. They used the stars. And they could tell that the world was a big clock. So they could navigate and tell the date and tell the year and all that by the stars. They didn't need and the moons and sun, right? It's all in Jubilees, actually. If you want to read that book, it's a wonderful book. Explains a lot. Anyway, and then there's more complicated things, like the science of a vacuum and how that all works. What space would actually be if it existed, and what it would actually do to the Earth if it existed. There is no force like gravity that would be able to hold the Earth's atmosphere within a vacuum. It's impossible. And then even if you took a soda can and put it into a vacuum and suck all the air out, the soda can would pop because it's holding that pressure inside. It literally explodes. So Neil Young and all the astronauts, Neil Diamond, Buzz Armstrong and Neil whatever. Anyway, all those lying astronaut pieces of shit would all be evenly distributed throughout space by now. Every time they went in, just the rocket ship, as soon as it got into the space and it's trying to hold an atmosphere inside of itself while going through a vacuum, pop, everything in it, all the people, pop, 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 spread out evenly throughout the whole fucking universe. Earth, go watch Spaceballs. When they turn that fucking vacuum on, when the ship turns into the Nun and they start sucking the atmosphere off the planet, that's what it would look like. That's what would happen to Earth. Nothing could hold against that. And if it did, it would have to be a solid. It couldn't be gravity. And then gravity was disproven when that dumbass at NASA dropped the feather and the bowling ball inside the vacuum and they hit the ground at the same time. And then he said, "Oh well, the Earth must have moved, and the vacuum and the fucking feather and the bowling ball stayed still." And then he got promoted. I couldn't fucking believe that. That conclusion, you want to shake him. So if you did that same experiment in Australia, would the feather and the bowling ball have hit the ceiling? You fucking moron. I hate that guy. Everybody at NASA. They're all scumbags. They're the worst of the worst. Anyway, so, and who knows, that guy could just be that stupid that he actually thinks that, right? Because here's the way everything has been presented to you guys your whole lives, and me too, is that you got 2 plus 2, right? There's the question. And then you're told it's either 5 or 3, but it cannot be 4. Throw that answer out the window. Argue about those. And you guys argue about it every time. Right? So he could actually be that dumb. I used to tutor people in math, and I couldn't believe the low comprehension of some people. And you wouldn't know it. Talking to them, hang out with them, go party with them, whatever, you'd never know that they have absolutely no comprehension of math in the world. Right? So you just find somebody that brain dead and start promoting them into your thing and make them look like they're really smart. So I guess I could give him the benefit of the doubt that he's just that stupid. But I don't think so. I think he's that evil. Same as like Don Pepite and Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson. All those guys. There's a special place in hell. It would be better, God says, it would be better to have a millstone tied around your neck and be thrown into the deepest ocean in the world than for what he's going to do to you for fucking with his children. And he didn't say fucking with his children, but that's the way I'm going to say it. Anyway, so, moving on. A compass. You can take a magnet and set it on your kitchen table. Go grab a compass, set it on the table as well. The north's always going to point at the magnet. And then you could actually go east or west and continually go east or west without moving and draw a perfect circle around the magnet. And then if you went just a little north or south and then went east or west again, you'd make a perfect circle right around the fucking magnet. Every time until the magnet gets too weak to pull the thing, and then you get magnetic north. But it doesn't work on a ball. Go ahead and shove a magnet through a styrofoam ball and then hold a compass on it and try to make it work. It's never going to work. Right? Like, this is stuff that we can just go and test yourself. You don't need Bill Nye. You don't need Neil deGrasse Tyson. You don't need Don Pepite. You don't need all them people. You can just go out, do some experiments, prove it to yourself. Go to the water. Look at it. 8 inches per mile squared. Left to right. It should bend. When you're standing at the ocean, you're looking at miles. You know, a ship that's like a half a mile, quarter mile big oil tanker looks this big sitting out on the horizon, and there's all kinds behind it, and you're seeing miles in each direction. That should bend like a mofo. But you've never ever observed that. You've gotten into airplanes and went up. And the only time that you've seen the earth bend is when you're looking through a fucking fisheye window. The windows are curved out like that in order to give you that fake illusion of a curve. But you'd see that curve as soon as you fucking took off. You'd see it before you took off. You'd be curving in the buildings and the fucking the street and the airmac and everything else. It'd all be curving. You're just blinded, so you don't look at that. And then you get up in the air and you're like, oh, look at that, the world curves. Duh. Again, it's not your fault. And I know I get frustrated with you because I've been spewing this for like, oh shit, since like 2015. And then the young earth science, I've been spewing that since like 2010 maybe or whatever. I learned about it in 2007, and then I studied for a few years to show myself approval. And then once I did, I started to talk about it, right? So, and it was probably more like 2006 that I learned about it, and, excuse me, graduated in 2007 from NBCC. And I learned about it all while I was at college. So, anyway, and it changed me. That's the other thing. You say, why is it so important? It changed me so much that I'm nearly unrecognizable in my personality and in my actions, the things I do on this earth, and what I think, the way I feel, the way I treat other people, the way I treat myself, the way I look at myself, the way I love myself, the way I love other people, everything, the way I look at women, everything like that. It all changed. I don't drink anymore. I quit smoking cigarettes. I don't eat bad food. I fucking working on quitting smoking weed now. And don't eat bad food. Quit McDonald's. Quit television. Quit Nintendo games. All that stuff. I read books instead of watching TV all the time. I used to watch The Simpsons and Family Guy and Futurama and shit like that constantly. It was always on. South Park, something. Always on. 24 hours a day. 7 days a week. As soon as I come in the door, flick on if I wasn't listening to music, I'd put one of those shows on and just have it as background noise. And I've watched them all so many times that I could see what was going on even if I wasn't looking at it. I knew every episode that well, that I could brain movie every one of them blindlessly. No, that's not right. But we'll try effortlessly. Yuck, coffee's cold. I'm going to stop talking now not because of lack of evidence. I've got more. If I could just keep thinking for a couple minutes, I could keep going, but I'm going to run out of my half hour here in the next few minutes. And really, if you haven't been convinced by what I've said already, enough to at least go out and look, like go out and prove me wrong, I welcome it. Think about how easy my life was compared to what it is now. I'm way more blessed now. I'm in God's graces now. But before, do you know how many times I've turned down different girls and sex and stuff like that in the last 7 or 8 years? Like, just that alone. Enough to make somebody fucking go nutty. So it would be enough to want to go back to that lifestyle and want to, you know what I mean, to be that easy person again, right? And just to go back and to be that same degenerate that we're all taught to be in our society, and to just say, oh, well, as long as I'm a decent person, God's going to let me in. Don't worry. No, he's not. That's not how it works. You got to have faith in him. The test is to be on this shithole, Satan's world. It's beautiful, but I mean, like, it's our society's shitty. The way we treat each other is shitty. Most people are shitty. And to be faithful in him, live for him, give up things for him, know that he exists, have full faith in him. Faith is hard to explain because it's so vast. You know, everybody knows what this part of faith is, but nobody understands all of it. I don't understand all of it. Like, I'm not Jesus. I'm not Paul. I pray to be like Barabbas, you know, Timothy. Low level guy that just did his thing, preached his word, and just lived for God. Humble. All those things matter to God. Just being okay person is okay, but it's not what he wants. It's not what he's looking for. And doing works, like, I'm Jewish as well, so I do works, but I got saved first. See, think of works as like your bank account. Let's say your bank, you're like negative $100,000 in sin, right? And so you're doing, say you do 10 works a day, right? But you're probably doing 100 sins, right? Just the thoughts that are in your mind are a sin. So you're way more sinning than you're doing works. You're constantly going down, and you're negative 100 grand to begin with. So you're nowhere. There's no point in trying to do the works because there's no way that you could ever come up to being zero even. But when you go to Christ and you say, I believe in you and I love you and I'm yours, he says, I appreciate that. I'm going to pay off that 100 grand, and here's another 100 grand to give you some balance. Now's the time for you to go and do works. Now you can actually get somewheres. Your works count for something. You're not just living in a pile of sin all the time and doing a couple little works, right? You're living in a pile of righteousness, and that you're still going above and beyond and doing works. And most of those works are good for you. So if you do the works, like don't eat pork. Pork's horrible for you. It's horrible for your system. Don't eat blood. Blood's horrible for you. It gives you high cholesterol and shit. Like, it's bad for your fucking body. Don't eat it. A rare steak, I know it's good, but don't. No, it's bad. It's bad. It's horrible sin. You're not supposed to eat the blood. The life is in the blood. That's why leeching people back in the day was the stupidest thing you could do. Take their blood away. You're killing them. You're taking away their life. That's everything. Your blood is everything. That's why when you give blood or donate blood, you have to wait so many weeks before you can give blood or donate blood again, because it's you're weak and you're fucked up and you're going to be all a mess. Anyway, God bless you. Hope that this helps, and I hope that you go out and prove me wrong. Maybe I can go become a sinner again. Not a chance. God bless you. Love you all.